Hey guys, this is Frank with another episode of Modern Church Leader. Super pumped to talk about Breakthrough Ministries today. I'm here with my new friend, Shelby Holloway. Shelby, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad we maybe, fingers crossed, figured out all the tech challenges and we've got this podcast happening.
Hey, let's go. Let's try.
So, you're with Breakthrough Ministries, which, again, we were talking a little bit before this. It just sounds like a super cool ministry. I wasn't actually familiar with it. So I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get into ministry? Where are you located? And then kind of jump into what Breakthrough Ministries is all about.
Yeah, well, I'm Shelby and I work at Breakaway, and we are a college ministry on campus at Texas A&M and College Station. So we hail from the great state of Texas, which is great. And I got into ministry. So when I was in college, I went to A&M. So I'm an Aggie through and through, and God just really did a transformative work in my life in college. I attended Breakaway on Tuesday nights. And if people aren't familiar with Breakaway, Breakaway is a Bible study that we exist to help any and every college student take either their first or next step with Jesus Christ. And so Breakaway has been around for about 33 years. Greg Mott, our founding director, started it in his apartment with some friends. And after he graduated college, just kept asking the Lord if maybe the Lord has something for us in this. And so I'm really grateful that he walked in faith all these years ago, because God's used it in my life. But it's been around for 33 years. We meet on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. We meet at Reed Arena mostly, which is our basketball arena where our volleyball team plays, where people graduate. And sometimes we'll meet at Kyle Field too, which is our football field. So God's just been so faithful for 33 years over just meeting with college students on Tuesday night. And we're not a church, we're a Bible study. So that's what people can expect when they walk in, that we will worship the living God and study his word and go deep in God's word. It's so fun. Tuesday nights just do not get old. If people are ever in town, I'm like, people need to come. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's very cool. I became a Christian in college at San Diego State. College ministry and that experience was it was incredible, right? So I can totally relate with not that I was part of that ministry, but just the experience in that time in my life and how instrumental it was and life-changing it was. And, my wife became a Christian there, and we met and got married, and just all kinds of things happened. So it just sounds like you guys are having a big impact for kids out there in Texas.
Well, it's fun. And college is just such a formative time of people's life, where they're asking just some of life's big questions of, what do I believe and what do I do with my life? And so I love that we get to just come and be a place on Tuesday nights that people can come and worship God and ask those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So it started off at the beginning, you said 30 some odd years ago, just as somebody was doing a Bible study in their dorm or in their apartment or wherever. And then it just grew. And how many people come on a Tuesday night now? Yeah.
So right now, we average about 2,000 to 3,000 a Tuesday. And so it starts bigger in the fall, on the first week of school when, no one has homework, people haven't gotten all those projects yet or any of that. And people's, schedules aren't full, but we average 2,000 to 3,000 on a Tuesday night, which is incredible. And, there's students that come for the first time later in the fall. And so we don't want any Tuesday night it's not a normal Tuesday night. It's we want to come ready and expectant for God to move, because we don't know who's in the room. It might be weeks of someone inviting their friend, and they finally decide to come to a place that just feels really approachable, and maybe they hear the gospel for the first time. So 2,000 to 3,000 students, and it's amazing.
That's incredible though. 2,000 to 3,000 students coming every Tuesday night. That's very humble of you to call it a Bible study. I'm sure it is a Bible study, but that's most people think Bible study is there's 10 people, they're at the lunch tables. Or
totally.
Right? That's a sort of different thing. So when you're 2,000 to 3,000 students show up, that is massive. And you guys meet in the main auditorium, it sounds like, at the school, right? Which that's pretty cool. So how does that all work? The relationship with the ministry and the school, kind of being connected in that way, how did that form over time?
I think it's been neat just being at Breakaway. Like, one of our core values is dependence out of John 15:5, where apart from God, we can do nothing. So I feel like, we pray often, but I think years ago, I remember Greg told a story about Reed Arena being built when he was still directing in the 90s. And he was like, man, that's a place that we could meet on campus at A&M. And so over the years, just with people who love Breakaway, and God's just really given us favor on campus and building relationships with the university staff. And it goes beyond me, like this is my 5th year on staff at Breakaway. I came on staff in 2018. And so people who've gone before me, who have just worked at Breakaway, like, cultivated relationships with the university and with different people over the years, to where we have, it is God's favor that we have good relationships with our university. And even after COVID, some of the leaders at A&M were like, we want y'all to be one of the first student, like, on-campus events back after the football. After football, we're like, we'll do football, and if that goes well, then we could maybe be back. And so but that was like, we were like, maybe we'll just meet outside after COVID. And the university was like, y'all could be in Reed. We'll do like a cap of 2,000 students. And there were all these different parameters that we had to meet, but really it's God's favor and just continued prayer over the years, and people who really have cultivated relationships. And we have, like, even our team now, we continue to do that, of meeting with them and wanting to honor their space. It's not ours. And we go in every week, we set up, we tear down, and we want to be good stewards of what God's given us. So it's we lean on the Lord and we're praying, but we're also cultivating relationships. And I just get to stand on the people that have gone before me and have worked at Breakaway years ago, and just cultivating those relationships.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a long time of just building a great reputation and serving the school well, and it works. What does a Tuesday night look like? What is this Bible study you speak of, and what does it look like on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, on a Tuesday. So we have there are 300 volunteers. And so, even just to give context for people who may not know A&M, there's 80,000 students in town between A&M and then the community college. And so 3,000 come, we have 300 students that are volunteers, and between their different teams, they come in on a Tuesday night. So we have a roadie team, and it's a bunch of guys, and they get to help set up all the stage. So they get there at 5:00, they set the stage up, and our team, our full-time team, there's 6 of us. We plan out what the stage may look like. And once we get into rhythm, everyone knows what their job is as far as setup goes. And we have people that oversee our teams of volunteers, but then we have a media team. They are the ones that help do all of our live broadcast and our pro presenter, and they get to help do that. So I love that we get to do Breakaway with the student and for the student. But then we have other teams, like our Connect team. They help connect students to the local church, and they'll come in and set up beforehand. Our resource team, they'll set up merchandise and just Breakaway resources that we sell. But we have a street team that's on campus during the day on Tuesday. And as students are walking by to class, they're, either this week, I think they handed out pies before Thanksgiving, because what college student is going to say no to a free pie? I don't know. 100%. So they have some fun with it too. But we have a street team on campus that is welcoming people and inviting people to Breakaway on Tuesday. But once we get to Breakaway, we really have a team of people that sets up the arena, and then our worship team comes in and they rehearse, and we have our guest speaker arrive, and then we pray at 8:30 beforehand, start at 9, and then at 10:15 we're done and we tear down for the evening. And so as we get together, we start off with worship, and then someone teaches. So yeah. It's a lot of fun, but I love that we get to do it with students. It makes it special. These are college students that we get to run alongside, and they're the ones that know the peers. They're the ones that are inviting students in their classes, and it's really fun.
Right. Yeah. 300 volunteers, that's impressive. That's a lot of folks to coordinate and make sure they're there. And do you find that it's a lot of folks that knew about the ministry or have heard about the ministry over the years, and part of going to school there, they want to be connected with the ministry? They come in?
I think it's a both and. I think there's people who even for example, one of our team leaders, her parents went to Breakaway when they were in college, and that's been neat to see. People who founded Breakaway, their kids are now in college. So
Right.
her parents went, and now she gets to be a part of it. But then you have other people who have come to know the Lord at Breakaway, and then they apply to be a volunteer because God used it in their life and they want to be part of that. And so I remember I was not a volunteer in college, but I remember hearing about Breakaway and I'm like, man, I want to go. And so I think you have people from all varied backgrounds who knew about it beforehand and say, man, I want to be a part of that. And then also these people that God just used it in their life and they're like, man, God used this. I want to give back. I want to be a part of this. Or people who are just want to be part of something. In our community college, sometimes at A&M, there's a lot of organizations and it's just for Aggies. And so we let our community college, our blend students come and volunteer with us as well. So it's a great way for students to get plugged in and get to be a part of something on campus.
Yeah, that's cool. And is the worship team part of the volunteer crew? Or is there a full-time worship team that you have that runs worship and the speaker? Do you pay an outside speaker to come in, or is it just community church church leaders that come in? How does all of that look?
Yeah, totally. So Breakaway Worship, we have a part-time guy who's our worship director, and he's not a student, and most in our worship team isn't. So we have people who love college students. And when we were looking to build our worship culture, and I say one of my teammates, he does that, but he's thinking, who are the type of people that when a college student comes up to them, they're going to lean in and have that conversation with the college student who's like, hey, you're up here playing guitar every week. And so we have that team of people are worship leaders throughout the state of Texas. They come in on Tuesdays, but we also have a student choir that they get to sing once a month. And that's a fun way for students to get involved and for us to raise up worship leaders. And right now we have guest speakers that we bring in, but we have had 3 directors in the past, and our directors typically are the ones who are speaking on Tuesday nights. But right now we have guest speakers come in every week, and that's been just amazing for them to step in and preach God's word.
Yeah, I love it. What has things changed, or have things changed at all? It sounds like, you're back on campus and all the things, schools are back. We're 3 years from the pandemic and all the things. But did you see a big change, or is there anything different now as compared to pandemic in terms of doing college ministry and meeting and I don't know, anything that have changed dramatically?
Totally. I don't know if I would say dramatically. I think it's more of just being aware of where students are at. So in college ministry, it's 18 to 22-year-olds and they stay the same age and we keep getting older. And so I think about okay, the pandemic happened. A lot of them are either seniors now or they were in high school. Right. And so I think it's more being cognizant of where are we at just culture wise? I think students are a little more overwhelmed, or you just had this big shift. And we even saw it at first, classes all went online instead of on campus. And so that adjustment back to in-person classes and meeting students again, and connecting with people. And, it's just, I've read stuff of it's a lonely, people are lonely. And so even just that piece of training students, how can we encourage you to connect with the people in your classes? And then I think Breakaway wise, just with this generation, whether it's we had these conversations pre-COVID, but I think after COVID, we're still having them we are an in-person gathering. And so that for us, we're man, if people get in the room, there's just something about being in the room on a Tuesday night that you can't necessarily get on a screen. Now, I think God can still work on a screen and listening to a podcast and all of that. But I think for us, with this generation, and even I say with this generation, I think there's just so much saturated, it's just people have podcasts, there's so much content out there right now, which I think is a great thing. But I think for us, we're man, how can we encourage students to come and to let them know that this is beneficial to them, And so I think if anything, it's more how can we encourage an in-person gathering when students can always listen to a podcast later or watch the YouTube live stream later on. And so I think if anything, that's been more of of a challenge and on our end, because we're like, man, there's nothing like a Tuesday night that is in person in time. But I think those are the things like post COVID, you have like that student piece of overwhelmed, but wanting to make friends and wanting to connect. And how do I do all the things after, my high school finished and I wasn't doing a lot, or I went to all online classes. But I think those are the things that come to mind of what changed after the pandemic. But in some ways, it feels like we're back to normal too.
Yeah, it's been a few years now, and it is interesting. How do you guys spread the word? Like, how do you get the word out about Tuesday nights and about the ministry and build those connections? And you have the volunteers and you have the street team. You kind of mentioned that, but is there any other ways that you're like partnering with the university or, doing marketing or any of that kind of stuff to, build momentum?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we're on social media. And so that is like a huge way for us to market. And a few years ago, our former director, TA, Timothy Atik, he gave us 4 words that really have stuck with me. And it's a reminder, a reason, an invitation, and an introduction. And so if we can think about those 4 words as we're talking like with students, I think it's just really helpful. And so we market via social media. So we'll like post a story that says Breakaway tomorrow night, Breakaway tonight. So very much engaged on social media. And then we have our street team, like you said, getting to talk to students on campus. And then I think one of the other ways we're just really training up our volunteers is to see their spheres of influence and say, like, where are the places that you're at? Like when you go to the grocery store or when you go to the rec center on campus or when you're in your classroom, who are the people that you can invite? Like, who are the just people in your surrounding areas? Because we see like social media work. Even the other day, someone was saying they came to Breakaway because they saw a social media post, which is so cool. And they wear t-shirts on Tuesdays that say Breakaway tonight. And we even heard a story about someone who's like, hey, let me ask you about this, like, cause you're wearing your t-shirt, so we have those like tactics as far as marketing strategy. And then we also are just really encouraging to our students to be like, sometimes like there's so much power to a personal invitation to say, hey, why don't you come to Breakaway with me tonight? And even if they don't accept until like the 5th time, maybe they need to be invited 4 times before they ever say yes to coming. And so we just think about in-person, social media, t-shirts on campus. We don't want to like be in people's faces, but we want to remind people that Breakaway is happening. We want to invite them. We want to introduce them, and we want to give them a reason to come.
Right.
So those are like some of the things we think through when it comes to our marketing strategies.
Yeah. I love that. Does the university give you opportunities to like let students know about it in other, like, sounds like they let you on campus and you can pass out pies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great. But orientation or in the dorms or, I don't know, there's all these like different avenues. Like, do you have any kind of things where you've seen success by just partnering with the university?
Yeah, I think at A&M, there are so many different organizations. I think there's over 1,000 organizations. So A&M is a very like organization culture. So in some ways, if they said yes to everything, that would be a lot, but they let students, like even us, like be on campus on Tuesdays, passing things out. But in the summers, one of the things we do when we have all of our new freshmen, like conferences, the new student conferences, and all the freshmen come sign up for their classes, we are on campus and we pass out t-shirts to every incoming freshman. And so that they will get invited and they will get a free t-shirt, and it'll be a reminder to them that Breakaway happens. And again, it's like, what college student doesn't want a free t-shirt when they're starting out school? Like, they can add it to the collection, they can add it to their collection and all that. But that's one of the things we do in like being on campus. We see a lot of value in that, and A&M, like, they're great about letting students, and not just us, like organizations are on campus, but they're not necessarily like promoting Breakaway, but they allow us to get to be there, promote Breakaway, just like they get to allow other organizations to promote what they're wanting to promote.
And part of my question, like, if there's someone listening that's like, oh, I've got a small Bible study, or I'm thinking about starting something, like giving people ideas on how to build something at their school, I think is because you guys have something really special. And the fact that it's that big kind of creates energy and creates this momentum that almost will keep going because it's got this size to it already.
Sure.
So, maybe as we're kind of winding down, like what things would you tell somebody who is starting out or has a small ministry that they've just begun or they're thinking about, what would you tell them to do? Obviously being faithful and praying and
yeah, for sure.
Things like definitely. But tactically, like running an effective ministry organization on campus, like what kind of things have you seen really work, or what would you tell them to do in starting out?
Yeah, well, I think even just like having someone who has a vision and direction, and then someone to help implement that vision. And then from there, I'm like, try stuff, like for us, like I think even our marketing tactics, sometimes we like to put like funny videos out there that just are for entertainment. Like we did an Aggie Essential video, say, here's what you need as a new freshman, like, just like having fun. And so I would just say, don't be afraid to try new ideas. Like for us, sometimes we'll try things and we're like, okay, that maybe didn't land as well as we thought. So, but that's okay. But you're not going to know unless you try. And I think it's important to also like, even just learn the culture of where you're at. And so for us, we'll give people like, hey, this is what we do on a Tuesday night. This is our teams that we operate with and everything. But for us, it's like, we know the culture of A&M. And so, but that, like you said, you went to San Diego State, the culture at A&M is going to be different than the culture at San Diego State. And so how can, you enter the culture and kind of know like how things operate? So it's where it's like, oh, students at A&M, we're like, we're going to give free t-shirts away. People are like, cool, Breakaway, awesome, I'll go try it. It's like, who knows if that may go over as well as your campus, but I think it's like not being afraid to try those new things,
right?
Try the social media thing, try like doing something fun. People want something to be a part of. And so even just that piece of like, if we just gave people all information, then that's all they would have is information. But we're like, we're a Bible study. We want to also like have fun and do fun videos and some of that stuff. But I would just say have someone with vision, and then have someone to help implement that, and then get people like alongside, get people in the boat, like get people who are excited about whatever is happening on your campus. And it's okay. Like it doesn't have to, things can grow over time. It doesn't have to grow overnight,
Yeah. I'm sure it didn't start, 33 years ago at 2,000, 3,000 people showing up.
No, but it grew, yeah. It's like people just invited people and kept inviting people. And then people were bought in and kept inviting people. And then God's just done something amazing that no one I think could have ever dreamed or hoped of.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Super cool. Breakaway Ministries. People got to go check it out. Where should they go online? I got a couple rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you, but where should folks go to check out Breakaway Ministries?
Yeah, so they can, on YouTube, you can find us Breakaway Ministries, and then on Instagram, we're Breakaway Min, Breakaway MIN. So if you guys follow us there, you'll get all the things up to date on Breakaway, and it's fun. We love it.
Amazing. Okay. Who's a church leader, a Christian leader, ministry leader that you look up to, and why?
Yeah. Okay. So I will say Timothy Atik. I already talked about him a little bit, but he's our former director. He's currently one of the pastors at Watermark Church in Dallas. And so I got to work with him closely for the past few years. And he is an incredible leader. He's compassionate. He cares for the people and just is really submitted to the Lord and walks faithfully with Jesus. So him and his wife, their family, I'm really grateful for him. So I look up to them a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's a book you think everyone should read?
Okay, I will say I just finished it recently, but Delighting in the Trinity by Michael Reeves. It says it's an introduction to the Christian faith, but it's really deep, but it talks about the Trinity, about the triune God. It's like just really helpful in understanding more about who God is. So I recently read it, came highly recommended. Really good.
Very cool. Okay, podcast that you're listening to right now.
Okay, I'll say I like Carrie Newhoff podcast, and then also on a fun one, I love the show Survivor, and I like to listen to the Pod Has Spoken. It's a recap of all the episodes. So
all the episodes, nice. I've heard people. I've never listened to a podcast like that, but I've heard people love those.
Hey, it's pretty fun. So you got a leadership one, and you got a fun TV recap.
I love it. I love it. Well, Shelby, this has been great. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story and telling us more about the ministry. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thanks for joining us this week. We'll catch you next week on another episode of Modern Church Leader. See ya.